Recently, Americans have been talking past each other instead of talking to each other. We're screaming and not really saying anything. And I think the problem comes down to the fact that nobody is really thinking about what their position is, how to say it, and how to talk sanely to other people. So I thought I would come up with a solution on how to talk to people rationally and reasonably. See what you think. I'm about to go on a hike through these woods on the Black Warrior River and talk about some big ideas. And if you'll stick with me through the next few minutes, you might figure out a way to have a discussion with people you disagree with. That's the whole purpose of this hike today. But I'm going up in those woods right there, and hopefully we'll talk about some interesting ideas and an exercise on how to talk to people that you disagree with. Hopefully it'll change your mind on a few things. Hopefully it'll give you some things to think about, and you might actually become friends with people you disagree with. So I've been trying to come up with a solution to this problem for a while, why people have stopped talking to each other. And I'm sure it's been a problem that's going on for longer than I have realized, but I truly feel that there is a solution, and I think it should be fun and interesting. I came up with the game show idea. I came up with some ideas about how to change other people's minds, but I think it really starts with your own ideas. If you cannot develop your own ideas and leave emotion behind, then what good is it going to be to stand in front of people screaming at them? So number one on the list, this is a verb, list your strongest concerns, your political and social concerns, the things that bother you the most. List those out. That's number one. When you list out your concerns, you're probably going to come up with what you actually believe in. Illegal immigration. There should be no such thing as illegal immigration. You should list that. There should be open borders. Things like that. There should anybody that wants to come to America or any other country should be allowed to come in freely. No borders. Nobody checks anything. If that's one of your ideas, that should go on your list. And what we're going to do is develop a list that you can examine and think about and see if you can support this with somebody that disagrees with you. And if you can't support it, maybe you should discard this idea. If it's just an emotion, if it's something that you have no evidence for, other than just a gut feeling, this is the right thing to do, you should maybe think about discarding it. If you feel strongly and you think that there should be some kind of evidence behind it, here's what's good about having open borders. Here are all the good things. Start listing those things out to be able to support your cause and your idea. Step number 2, form a solid foundation of your ideas and beliefs. If your ideas and beliefs are simply built on the fact that you strongly feel something, you should really try to reevaluate. If your ideas are just 100% built on feelings, you should really reevaluate. And the reevaluation that I'm going to ask you for is build a foundation. Form some kind of a thought process behind what you're feeling. And I'm not saying abandon your feelings. I'm saying build a foundation, form some kind of structure for your beliefs other than feelings. So I feel that people should come and go through our border freely and easily, and this is why I feel this way, because it's a good idea because of what. And be ready to not only understand the opposing opinion, but be able to try to defeat it. If you think that the opposing idea to your beliefs should be eliminated, come up with the reason. If there's a reason other than you feel this way, what is that reason? If your belief has no foundation, maybe you should abandon it. If it has a foundation, build that foundation and be willing to share it with somebody that disagrees with you. Step number 3, mind your emotions. Now, I'm not telling you to dismiss or eliminate your emotions. I'm a pretty emotional guy myself. I have strong feelings, and I tend to express those feelings. I have no real problem expressing my feelings. And most of the time I have no problem expressing my ideas. But when I say mind your emotions, I say that in an attempt to put your emotions in the back seat and let your facts take over. So evidence, facts, let those things take over, because to be able to have a reasonable, rational discussion, the more emotion you take out of the discussion, the more rational and reasonable the discussion can become. So if you're trying to convince somebody, persuade them, emotion has a place, but typically bringing emotion into a discussion turns everybody's ears off, makes people walk away. So when you start screaming at people and calling them names, it typically ends the discussion. And I think it's just one of those things that people aren't practiced at it. People don't like conflict typically, so that's why we form our little bubbles, our little groups, that we tend to gravitate towards people that we agree with. And when we disagree with those same people, we just shut down. We don't talk about, hey, look, let's not talk about politics and religion, because that always gets people in trouble, right? It always causes conflict. It always, you might lose your friends. And it's because of emotion. And that brings us to step number 4. Engage. Engage with people that you disagree with. This is going to be the hardest thing you do. It's the hardest thing for most people, because that's typical. It's a typical response. Engage with people you disagree with. It's one of the hardest things that you're going to be asked to do with this activity, is engaging with people that you don't agree with. It's most people know this as conflict. It's the reason why we don't talk to each other, because most people want to avoid conflict. They don't like getting upset, talking about things that are meaningless, except with people that they agree with. So that's why we wind up with these bubbles, with these angry groups that we all belong to, talking about those other guys that are idiots, those other guys that don't understand the truth, those idiots that are doing the wrong thing, those people. And the only reason those people exist out there in those other groups is that we're really, really good at forming groups. That's one thing humans do really, really extraordinarily well. We form groups. Mostly we form groups around our group identity, our beliefs, and sometimes, here's the funny thing, sometimes we join groups that we don't really agree with sometimes, but we mold ourselves into the patterns of this group to belong to the group. So if we can actually do that with groups that we identify with and feel strongly a connection, why can't we do that with groups that we disagree with? Well, I'm trying to tell you is the only way to change somebody's behavior and thoughts is to engage with them when you disagree. And hopefully we can become one big group again. I don't see it ever happening, but I see us talking. And I see smart people making decisions based on the discussions, the reasonable, rational decisions, or reasonable, rational discussions that we have with other people. Until we can have those reasonable and rational discussions, we're never going to make any rational and reasonable decisions. And we're always going to be at odds with each other. Now we come to step number 5. Practice. Practice defending your ideas. Practice defending your ideas, because the indefensible idea, those are the ones that should be discarded. So let me say that one more time. Practice defending your ideas, because the indefensible ideas should be thrown away. Those ideas without any foundation should be discarded. So to be clear, you can form a foundation around your ideas, but the more emotion and the less logic and evidence there is in the foundation, the more unstable this foundation is. So, by all means, form a foundation for your ideas. If you can't, or if they're that foundation is easily washed away with any kind of logic, any kind of reason, any kind of evidence to the contrary, you should probably either reform the foundation or consider ejecting that idea. It's probably a bad idea anyway. If your idea has a foundation of feelings, your idea is doomed. At some point, you may get a lot of support by others like you that are emotional, and their thoughts are emotionally based. Their decisions are based on emotion rather than reason. So you may gain some traction, but I think in the long term you're always going to be ruined by poor foundations. You know, Rome exists 2,000 years later because they knew how to build shit. They knew how to make things last, and most of it came from building strong foundations with concrete and stone. I truly believe if everybody started taking these steps to not only defend their ideas but examine their ideas to see where the flaws are, they would find a lot of flaws in a lot of their ideas. That's kind of how I came into this, is I had quite a few flawed ideas before, mostly based on emotion. And once I started examining them, being able to make a logical, reasonable discussion or debate with somebody about these ideas, they started falling apart. And I was really shocked. To examine your own ideas is a really hard thing. Thought is a really hard thing. It's so much easier just to pick up the things that other people say and go, yeah, me too. I like that idea, without actually giving it any thought. So I challenge you to take one of your primary thoughts and examine it, and see if you can defend it. And if you want some practice, I would love to try to discuss your ideas, especially if they oppose my own. I would love to talk to you about it. If you have any of those ideas that conflict with mine, please bring the topic up in the discussion below. Send me a link to your video. I would like to respond to your video. I would like to engage and give everybody the chance to practice examining and defending their own ideas. I think you would be shocked. If you've never done anything like this before, I think you would be shocked at the result. I think you would see a profound change in your ideas very, very quickly, given a rigid examination and an attempt to defend your ideas. Anyway, thanks for watching. It's been 15 minutes of fun for me. I had a great day walking around the woods next to the river, and maybe we can do this again. Don't stop the discussion. Please comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want to see when my new videos come out.